Welcome to Curtis Goes Corner, coming to you from a secret underground base in occupied America. Hi folks, welcome back. And those that are new, welcome. Oh boy, look at this. Robert Kennedy Jr.'s running mate, I forget her name, there's a lot of money from tech that she accumulated. She's quite rich. She suggests that ticket may drop out. Join forces with Trump to stop Harris. That would be an amazing thing. Is the risk of a Harris-Walz presidency worth us staying in? Nicole Shanahan suggested. That's the VP pick for Robert Kennedy Jr. Now let's listen a little bit, and I think why this would be an amazing idea if it happened. Let's listen to Jesse Waters when he interviews RFK Jr.
So the Democrats have called themselves the party of democracy, but they ran the least Democratic primary ever. They skipped Iowa, New Hampshire, jumped straight to South Carolina. They killed all primary debates, booted RFK Jr. from the party because he posed a threat to Joe. Today, RFK Jr. held a press conference to tell Democrats, I told you so.
A year ago, a little over a year ago, when I entered this race, I predicted that President Biden suffered from a degenerative condition that was not going to improve and that it would make it impossible for him to govern effectively.
Now, everybody knew that Biden was losing it mentally, even physically. They're all connected. I'm not a doctor. It looks like dementia, other things. That sometimes happens when you have advanced age like Biden is. Now, that being said, the Democrats, when they saw how badly Biden did with Trump in a debate, panicked. They freaked out. They thought for sure they could hide it, and they couldn't, which means they knew the whole time. They lied and said Joe is just as sharp as ever. Remember all the pundits? Joe Scarborough, for one, he's never seen Biden so sharp mentally. And my family has known him for 50 years, and blah, 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 blah. Corinne Jean-Pierre, the press secretary, saying Biden is just as sharp as he's ever been and dedicated to helping the American people, and wah, 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 wah. They all knew, they all lied. Anybody that would work with President Biden during the course of the last 3 years has seen the incredible deterioration. They tried to hide it from the American people. Why they allowed Joe Biden to do the debate with Trump in the first place, I don't know. Maybe it's just the stubbornness of Joe Biden. But they all knew, all of them.
Ran the right way. You did what you were supposed to do. You're a Democrat. You primaried a Democrat incumbent, and they wouldn't let you. How did they jam you out of this thing? Because now look at what happened.
Yeah, I think it was a strategic mistake by the Democrats, Jesse, and you and I have talked about this before. But they got rid of, they changed the primary rules while while we were running the primary. They changed 60 different rules to make it impossible for anybody to challenge Joe Biden. One of the things that you remember that they did to me is I've been campaigning in New Hampshire, so they adopted a rule that said that any political candidate, any Democratic candidate who campaigns in New Hampshire, who steps foot into the state of New Hampshire, that all of their votes would go to the president, all of their delegates would go to the president instead of going to that. And then they shut down the Florida primary. They shut down a bunch of primaries, just said, we're not running them. We already have our candidate. You know, a few weeks ago, President Biden was ridiculing Vladimir Putin. Who
Isn't that something? And there's like 62 different rule changes, on my understand, and it's just amazing to me. It really and truly is. It's just amazing. Anyway, let's listen on. I'll give you my opinion as well.
won 88% of the vote in Russia, and he said, you know, that was a fixed election because President Putin had made sure no adversaries could challenge him, and also that he had fixed the press. so the press wouldn't cover his adversaries. Well, the Democrats.
Doesn't that sound familiar? He fixed it. They're doing the same thing that Vladimir Putin did in Russia, so he remained president. He fixed everything. And the Democrats are doing exactly the same thing. But this joining forces with dropping out and endorsing Trump is a brilliant idea. RFK Jr. is very left. I don't align with a lot of what he says, and his running mate is actually more left. But they even see the danger of the Democrat Party, how they're manipulating things, how, take a chance on a Harris-Walz presidency is too much. It'll ruin the country. Even they know that. And this isn't sour grapes. Unfortunately, they pull some votes from Trump. Now, it's just amazing to me. Let's read on. Independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr., running mate Nicole Shanahan, said her campaign is considering dropping out and supporting former President Trump to avoid a Kamala Harris presidency. We're taking a very serious look at making sure that the people that have corrupted our fair and free democracy do not end up in office, she said in an episode of the Impact Theory podcast posted Tuesday. The entrepreneur and attorney admitted there are two paths for the RFK campaign to go down, one being to stay in the race and create more legitimacy for independent presidential candidates, or to suspend its run and endorse Trump. It will give him the lift he needs to beat Harris in November. Now, this is the ultra progressive talking. Is the risk, she was asked, is the risk of the Harris-Walz presidency worth us staying in? And that's her. I mean, that's as simple as you can get. And there she is there. I guess she's a tech entrepreneur and quite rich. The tech entrepreneur discussed claims that Kennedy Jr. is a spoiler candidate, telling the host that she put tens of millions of dollars into the campaign to win the presidency. We didn't want to be a spoiler. We wanted to win. We wanted a fair shot. However, she accused the DNC of sabotage. Now, Johnny, this is sour grapes. They got screwed over, so they're going to screw over the Democrats. I don't think so. I think this is something higher than that. How the entire process in the primaries for president for Biden was a sham. They changed all 62 rule changes so he could get in and not be challenged, because they all knew that Biden was losing it mentally. And they couldn't have him in a real primary, making speeches and doing interviews like on this podcast and such. They knew. All of them knew. It's not against the law to hide it, but it makes them scumbags and doesn't serve the American people very well. They have banned us, shadow banned us, kept us off stages, manipulated polls, used lawfare against us. That sound familiar? Sued us in every possible state, and they even planted insiders into our campaign to disrupt it and to create legal issues for us. Yeah, I mean, this makes Watergate, those of you that are old enough, this makes Watergate look like a college presidency run where they, went after each other in college for the. It's just amazing. Just amazing. A former Democrat donor, she added that she was so disappointed she ever helped the Democrat Party. Unbelievable. RFK Jr. disqualified from New York ballot, used sham address for residency, judge rules. That's a bunch of crap. There's two options that we're looking at. One is staying in, forming that new party, but we run the risk of a Kamala Harris and Walz presidency because we drew votes from Trump. We draw somehow more votes from Trump. Now, if you remember, Ross Perot. There's a lot of things that Ross Perot actually said and believed in that I believed in. There's no way Bill Clinton would have won without Ross Perot as a third-party candidate in both elections. My understanding is I think Bill Clinton got 41% of the vote, in the first presidential election with him? 41%. That's an amazing number. It really is. We draw somehow more votes from Trump, or we walk away right now and join forces with Donald Trump, and you know we walk away from that and explain to the base why we're making that decision. It's not an easy decision. You're right, it isn't an easy decision. Well, we're going to help future independent candidates by staying in. I don't think that's true anymore. That is long past what the Democrats did. Using lawfare? How's that sound? Sound familiar to you? Unbelievable. The Washington Post reported earlier this month that Kennedy Jr. reached out to Harris' team to discuss the possibility of working inside a future cabinet. However, the candidate denied the report during a recent live stream town hall. That's fake news, he said, of course, a phrase coined by Trump. That's fake news. And he said, I didn't ask Kamala Harris for a cabinet position, but I've reached out to all candidates. I've met with some. Shanahan denied the report during the podcast as well, that those are the mainstream news are just taking something and spinning it in a way that makes you know their chosen political group look good. Fake news. The Harris campaign did not immediately reply to Fox Digital request for comment. When asked for comment, the Trump campaign mentioned the former president's interview on Tuesday with CNN, in which he called Kennedy Jr. a very smart guy. And there you have it. Will they decide? Now, I think Shanahan, the vice presidential candidate that RFK Jr. picked, for her to make that statement out loud, we have two choices, stay in or help Trump to defeat Harris Walls. She just didn't do that of her own independent thought. She had to run it by RFK Jr. first. That's a given. That's the way it always works. Especially if they're VP, you make a statement like that, you always have approval from the presidential candidate that you're under. Now, that being said, what are they doing? Are they testing the waters? They want to see? I find it amazing that more Trump votes go to them than Biden as a percent. It's not a lot different. It's a small percentage, but even still. See, here's the problem. Baby boomers like myself, I'll be 68 in November, that were Democrats their whole life, including me. 10 years ago, I left the party and became a Republican. I was a local elected official here in upstate New York for 8 years. I believed in the Democrat Party. Not all of it, not the back crap crazy things they're doing now, but the old John Kennedy, his uncle's Democrat Party. Well, that party hasn't existed in a very long time. But the older baby boomers would vote for Biden or anybody that's on the Democrat ticket because they think the Democrat Party is the same one they grew up with 40, 50 years ago, and it's not. They've never voted for a Republican, so they automatically vote Democrat, and they're cutting their own throat. They're doing things that's going to hurt them and this country, more importantly, because they're convinced Democrats are all the same and always have been the same, and they're not. I hope and pray that Robert Kennedy Jr. and also Shanahan, his running mate, decide to drop out and help Trump. That would be an amazing thing. Absolutely amazing. This election is close. 2 or 3 points will swing the whole thing. They say, well, John, this is sour grapes for RFK Jr. and Shanahan, so they're just lashing out. Yeah, that may be partially true. Or you may see it a different way, that they did all this chicanery, and I think some of it's illegal stuff, to make sure that Biden got the nomination or at least enough delegates, and then pull the bait and switch and put in Kamala Harris. That they have to be called out on it. And these things, these nasty, ridiculous things they did, it has to be a penalty for being like this. And I think that's the penalty they want. You know, Trump's playing it cool. He says RFK Jr. is a sharp guy. Actually, he is a sharp guy. I'm not like the progressives and the Democrats that if you don't believe what somebody believes, they're automatically stupid and an idiot. RFK is no dummy. We're going to have to see. I pray that they decide to drop out. And it'll be on all the networks. There's no way they could hide it. That they drop out to help the Trump advance ticket. That would be an amazing thing. What a roller coaster ride this presidential cycle has been. You can't screw over voters like the Democrats did. You can't take 14-odd million people that voted in the Democratic primary state by state over the last year and tell them, oh, by the way, your vote doesn't count. Oops, sorry, my bad. And disenfranchise over 14 million people. You can't let them get away with that. So we're going to have to see. But this is really good news, and I hope this is not something that's, rumors. Because Shanahan actually said it out loud, so it's not like RFK Jr. didn't deny it. Will he get a cabinet post out of it? I don't know. Who's to say? But I think it's a big deal, a lot bigger deal than you thought. And maybe, just maybe, the baby boomers like myself that vote Democrat ticket right down the line will finally see the light when RFK Jr. and his running mate drop out of the race to help Trump. Only time will tell. Who the hell knows what's going to happen next? With Trump getting his sentence in September, this now, the independent person dropping out and endorsing the Republican nominee being Trump. I don't think this has ever happened, at least in my lifetime, and I was born in 56. So let's see what happens. Just sit with bated breath, just hoping and praying that things work out. Until the next time, God bless, goodbye, and good luck.